Hi, everyone. This is the CS and PM monthly call, and we are, oh my gosh, is it June? It's June. And I'll go ahead and kick us off. So we recently implemented the filtered search component on both the project and the group vulnerability report. This went live in cloud in 17.0 and will be available by default in 17.1. So this component, we switched over from the filtering that we were doing before to allow for some more space. So we can do things like add filter by identifier and other filters as we decide and want to. We're getting a lot of feedback about this component and just the overall usability of it. And we are collecting feedback. I went ahead and linked the issue in the agenda. This component can be used throughout GitLab, so we want to make sure that we make adjustments that work for every use case, but then we are also getting a lot of really great feedback from the field and from other team members. So please add your thoughts and feedback. Any feedback directly from the field on these changes? See a lot of heads nodding this direction. So I'll move on to the second one.
I saw it in the product the other day. I'm like, wow, this is new and kind of cool. So
Good.
I
Okay.
haven't done a lot with it, but my first reaction was not big. So
Great. I love that. That's great. Yeah, as you dig in there, please feel free to ping me on the feedback issue if you run into things that are less than ideal. So, and then also just wanted to give a heads up. I'm going to be working closely with Sam and Hillary on a full communications plan leading up to 18.0, but we are planning to implement a vulnerabilities retention policy as a breaking change in 18.0. I added a bunch of links around what we're thinking. We did have an email go out in 17.0. I linked the final email copy and the recipient list in there. And then also we are starting to receive feedback from users and in the feedback issue. So we know that they did receive those messages. Designs are still coming around how the things will be set and configured. I'm going to start working with Becca on that in 17.4, but just wanted to give everyone an early heads up so they are aware that this is something that we are going to be doing over the next year. All right, any questions on that? Okay, so you see some more horizontal head nods. So Joe, you want to go on to number C or letter C?
Yeah, thank you, Lana. Just want to give an update. I shared an authorization video update that covers roadmap and themes regarding permissions and custom roles. I shared this out right at the end of May. If you're interested in seeing where we're heading, take a look at the video. There's also a deck if you want to see a sort of a light approach of that and along with the epic. So any questions, feel free to post them in the Slack channel. Over to you, Hannah.
Okay. As you all know, I'm sure, we had our expiry hit that we had previously announced in 16.0, given a year buffer for, and then it landed in 17.0. I mentioned this at our last sync, and that it was like the day before it happened. So here we are, and it happened, and it did not go as well as we had hoped. For GitLab.com, it was a much larger impact than we had anticipated. We thought more customers would be proactive. We had customers who perhaps their contact information wasn't right and they never got some of the communications we set out. So we're taking away some lessons learned on communicating these highly impactful breaking changes. It was compounded by some rate limits that we had in place for GitLab.com. That when automated jobs started to retry authentication with these expired tokens, it brought down their access to GitLab entirely. I think we are past the worst of it for GitLab.com. For self-managed, we have the opportunity to be a little bit more proactive just because the expiry isn't hitting everyone at once. We have a dashboard that shows that over 1,000 instances have likely already hit it. We say likely just because we don't know for sure if someone turned off their ping that we have their exact version number correct. So we are backporting a banner to 16.6 that will say, you have tokens that are going to expire. Here's how you take care of that. And we also have some scripts that admins are able to run on self-managed that aren't nearly that, but they wouldn't have the same rights to run on GitLab.com. So all of that to say, we are hopeful that the self-managed impact is much less than .com. Despite having 1,000 instances hit expiry already, we've had no fires or desperate cries for help that we know of after checking in with support. So we're hoping that it's quite a different story for self-managed, but still just want to bring this to your attention that this is something that we're actively working on. Any questions or comments about that?
Hannah, what's kind of been the feeling from customers that you've interacted with as far as this? Is it like the takeaway that we could have done, the experience could have been better, or they just weren't prepared, or they dropped the ball? I know some of my customers dropped the ball no matter how many times I reminded them of this, and then all of a sudden it was this, fire drill.
Yeah, it's been all of the above, really, Brian.
Okay.
It's been the communications weren't sufficient enough, or for whatever reason, it went to an old email address, or it's not the right person, or they already get so many emails from us, it's easy to just ignore them. So I think it's an overarching, like, we need a better way to communicate breaking changes that are potentially this breaking. I think authentication is in kind of a unique spot. Like, if our breaking changes break, you can't get into the front door of the product, right? Which is a
Right.
huge fact. And I just got off of a call right before this where they were like, yeah, we were hit by it, but like, no matter how much we told our developers, because they're like the admins of GitLab, no
Right.
matter how much we told our developers to change their tokens, like, they weren't going to do anything until it broke. So that's just the way it is. And it finally broke, and then it forced them to fix it. So
Okay.
I've gotten that. I'd say those are kind of the two themes.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, in my new role, I've been noticing that this is a little tangential, but I've been noticing that the contacts that the AEs keep up as far as customers and who's in what role, those things are starting to lag. And I know I'm bumping into that when I try to reach out to, bulk groups of people. So that may be something that we could hand off to. So I'm trying to think of who would be a good person to bring that up to. I don't know, Steve, if that rings a bell, but kind of just maintaining contacts in Gainsight or Salesforce would really help with us to get the right audience for these things. I'll take that as an action item because I'm not sure who that is. But thanks, Hannah. That answers my question.
I think it should be the sales team, or the
Yeah.
customer success team, but it's really hard. It's really hard to keep up with that.
It is.
I try, but the things change pretty quickly. And then sometimes I find people we've talked to for years are not even in Salesforce. So
Right. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Salesforce hygiene we need to be a lot more mindful of, which has nothing to do with this call, but yeah.
Nothing to do with this call, but yeah, thank you.
All right. Anything else about the token stuff? I know it was quite impactful for the CS team.
Most customers I've ever dealt with have put off dealing with things like that until they break. So I'm honestly not surprised that a bunch of people were broken the day that it happened. So
Yeah. All right, Sam, you're up.
All right. I know Grant's talked about this before, but while we're on the topic of breaking changes, I just wanted to also highlight one that we've got planned. It won't actually break per se until 18.0, but we are planning on coming out with pipeline execution policies in 17.2, and then deprecating compliance pipelines in 17.3. we're still figuring out our plan on this one, so I don't think we have as clear of a plan as like Alana has at the moment for the vulnerability retention policy. But we are considering preventing users from being able to create new compliance pipelines once it's deprecated, or potentially like gating that behind several clicks just to make sure that they're very aware that it's going away in 18.0. This is not something that we can easily just migrate for the customer, so they will have to manually switch things over. But where we've got SA and CSM representatives here on the call, if you're able to help share that with your teams and with the rest of the SA and CSM org, that's also something that we would request your help and support on to prevent major problems as that goes into effect in 18.0.
Yeah, I noticed on Friday I was working with a customer and came across our old compliance pipelines doc page, and with no hint of any of the new content. And I was like, wait, how is this still here? But it is still functional. I've been working with some customers where they came in at the very beginning of compliance frameworks and pipelines, and now we're where we are. All I can say is that it's actually really getting exciting to demo this stuff and show this to customers because they love it. They love the scan policies, the fact that they can aggregate a bunch of those under a framework. And I know it's a little tangential to the whole pipeline discussion, but the work we're doing in here is customers are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying them enjoying it. So kudos to the team on that.
I second what Brian says. Customers are loving policies. They're loving how they work. They're loving how they be applied. They seem to be very clear and understandable. So,
It's
and
too bad. I
have
don't
any
think we're
customers-
recording this, are we?
I don't have any customers currently using compliance pipelines, and so I don't see that
We are.
very big impact.
Mm.
And honestly, I'm happy to see them go because I think policies just are a whole lot stronger.
Yep.
Oh, we are recording. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for those endorsements. That's great to hear. Love the positive feedback. Glad to see this is recorded. Looking forward to sharing that with the team.
Yeah, the auto YAML generation is huge. They love it. In rule
Awesome.
mode, that is.
Yeah, that auto YAML generation is, yeah, that's a game changer right there.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for this portion. Thank you, everyone.